Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the City Chatter Podcast. I'm John Bernstrom, Public Information Officer for the City of Grand Forks. This is our final podcast of 2023, and we'll pick it up again in 2024. Holidays are here. And our guest on our final episode of 2023, Ward 5 Councilmember Kyle Kvamme. Kyle, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was told you were saving the best for the last at the end of the year. So
Yeah, and that was
true.
Dana on Tuesday, and then you rescheduled to today.
So it works out great. Yeah. Anything I can do to just updo Dana would be great.
Sure, and then I'm gonna appreciate the holiday gear you're wearing.
Yeah, it's our Christmas lunch, today.
Sure.
So got to dress up for it.
And so I was doing some research on what December 15th is, and we found a couple of things. It is also National Ugly Christmas Sweater Day.
Oh, perfect.
So you made it work out good.
Yeah.
Made it work.
You're saying this is ugly?
No. No.
Perfect.
I gave you the look I give my wife. Wonderful.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Let's get right into it. The committee of the whole meeting we had this past week, coming up to City Council this coming Monday. Lots of things were covered.
Yeah.
Lots of things were covered. So let's start with probably the longest discussion item. Epitome Energy, the soybean crushing plant, looking to go north of the landfill, northwest of Grand Forks. What was presented to you was a framework of a development agreement, which is step one of 1,000 steps.
Yep.
The document was 50-some pages long.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that are in that?
Yeah. So, what I really appreciate, we had just gone through this process with the prior development, large-scale development that didn't happen. But what's really great is we learned so many lessons from that. And the effort that was done with all of those, the 26 requirements, that's now, I think, 31 requirements, right? So we have different things that the organization needs to fulfill before they can build. And I think one of the things that I hear the most from people is they say, oh, well, you signed a development agreement, so it's done. And it's the development agreement is just saying we're starting.
Right.
And it doesn't mean they have no ability to go construct this right now. They're going through and checking the boxes, and the work that Mr. Gosted and his legal team and our administration has done, I feel like has set up the city to be in a really safe place to not only have this be a success, but this is really setting the precedent for this is how we do things. This is how we do business. And, all the things that are covered in there from air quality and traffic planning to, meeting the requirements with the state of who's owning the company. Things like that I think are really, really important.
And I think it's also, and again, we went through this a year ago, right? And the development agreement, triggered a no-go. But this also coming forward, I think this is also personally a message to businesses. Oh, we know what we're getting into when we go to Grand Forks.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is what you're going to walk into. You look at the earnest money or the letter of credit. Again, we've got the same protections. We executed on those protections with the prior agreement, and it's still not an issue for companies to come in. They get it. This is the cost of doing business, and it's great.
Well, and the companies, I think, are confident enough. They're just like, we're going to get this built, and we're going to start making profit. I have no problem this up front in order to get us moving.
Yeah, and I think even with our development agreement and the requirements, North Dakota and Grand Forks are still a great place to do business. Even when you look, if you zoom out, we were able enough to attract this company from across the river, and I think there's many more to come.
Yeah, it's a bit of a snowball effect. I just, you see what's going on, right? The mayor mentions there's the ribbon cutting for the Ollivan, and the mayor made the comment at it of just like, there's momentum in Grand Forks. We're getting to a point where we're hard to stop.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Also discussed on Monday was the sales tax passed.
Yep.
You guys gave preliminary approval for the ordinance change to our sales tax portion of the ordinance. But then, all right, what does a turf and aquatics facility look like? And looking at you on this one a little bit, this is a little bit of your business. You build things.
Sure. Yeah,
right?
Yep.
This is early on in this one as well, but it looked like there was a request for proposal of like getting engineers online. Is that kind of what happened on this one?
Yep. It looks like coming up, the next step is, get architects on, then get engineers on, then get a construction partner on. Very, very typical steps that we see in these processes all over the country. And, this is an important process when you're determining what's going to be in this, what does it need, how does it need to function, who are the parties involved in these decisions, how much money do you have to spend, where are your priorities? Those are all things that are coming pretty quick.
As this came up at the meeting on Monday, is this one engineer? You're building a turf turf courts facility, one facility, and then a pool facility. Those are two very different facilities. Is this potentially more than one contractor, if you will, putting this thing up?
It really depends. It depends on a lot of things, but you're spot on. There's almost two very different facilities that will be joined together. You look at the Alaris Center, and you look at Canada Inn and things like that. There's different facilities that can connect and function differently and still have lots of synergies. So I think that's a problem that hasn't been solved yet. But I think there's certainly a lot of opportunity for more than one entity to be involved.
And that was something I was going to ask, just with your background in architecture and building things. Have you come across a similar facility that was built that you can maybe go take a look at? How'd you guys do it?
Yeah. It really, yes, there are some like that work like that. And even we've gone to the efforts before where you're designing where heat comes off of one thing and used to heat up another thing. And there's all kinds of things there
sure.
that you have to look at. So it'll be really complex, but there's lots of things around the country and around the region that, have different components of these, some connected, some not. I think this will be unique in that I think, we have a facility that we did in another state that had some of these same things, but was multiple buildings on one campus. And so
sure.
this will be a little bit different.
Yeah. As I mentioned, the work you do, architecture and stuff like that, before we get into the last thing from last Monday, but along those lines, you're pretty heavily involved with the Valley Middle School project.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Can you give us an update on where we're at there?
Yeah, sure. Yep. The design is all pretty well, I'd say, set to the point where they're now getting ready to create construction documents. So, the process of, initially we just said, here's how much stuff we need for the kids. And then we say, okay, now here's the shape of the stuff. And then the next final step is, okay, we verified this is how much, and we verified this is the shape and where things go. Then the final step is like, all right, well, we have to draw in doorknobs, and we have to draw in hardware and cabinet doors and things like that. That's the process that's really tedious, and that's what's happening right now. So as that's getting done, that's getting set up for a bid, early bid package, or a first bid package at the beginning of next year, and get going and get in the ground. And there's lots of things that are happening, and I think we had a board presentation not that long ago where we kind of went over the last set of designs and things, and it's looking really nice, and we're really excited about it.
Along those lines, do you have a bit of a timeline from the general public standpoint where they'll be able to, all right, this is what it's going to look like?
Sure. Yeah, I think if you went back to the board meeting, maybe it was 3 board meetings ago, there's a presentation from us, and there's some renders that are on there that'll show really what it's going to look like. I'd say if anyone's going and looking at that, the color's a little washed out, so
sure.
It kind of looks like different shades of brown when there's kind of some tan in there and other
right,
things.
Yeah.
And so I'd say, yeah, just a little bit of caution there, but it's a pretty well set design as far as the exterior, and that's up right now on the school board site.
Yep. I should mention, if people hear music in the background, we're here at the Grand Forks Best Source Studios, and outside, we just had the Schrader Middle School, and I know Schrader Middle School Chamber Orchestra. Mrs. Barheit led the team there. My kids go to Schrader. I know that team.
Quite the applause.
I know that team, so we just had an orchestra. I hear other orchestra out there right now. It's middle school kids giving a concert here.
Awesome.
At the
Great.
Grand Cities Mall.
Great.
So that's what you're hearing in the background. Back to Valley Middle School. The footprint, my understanding is the existing Valley Middle School will be in place. It won't be we have to tear it down to build up.
Yep,
there will be kids going to school there while the other school is being built.
Yep,
is that correct?
Yep, and that was really that was critical. I mean, not only is that does it make so that you can do the work at the same time, but you don't have to pay that cost of finding a place to stick those students.
Sure, which is huge. It's a middle school.
It's a huge economically and then also educationally. It's not an ideal thing to uproot all those students. So it's being built across. There will be a time period where the sports fields will be, there'll have to be some sort of solutions that they're working through now, because the current sports fields are where we're building, and then the current school will become the new sports fields.
So along those lines, we'll have a football season for Valley Middle School and a soccer season for Valley Middle School. They're going to have a lot of road games.
Yeah, I mean they're gonna play. I'm not promising where they're gonna play.
They're gonna play. Having kids in that world, right? There's there's room at South. There's room at Schrader. You're gonna have to go on the road a little bit.
They'll figure it
the
out.
Vikings played at the Gopher Stadium for 3 years.
I mean, it's the cost of getting something new.
That's right. That's right. Okay, back to Monday's council meeting. You had several questions on this, so I want you to dive in a little bit. There was a presentation from Beacon by Epic, and they're the ones developing the old Townhouse Hotel site. There's 2 buildings there now. I believe one of them is finished, working on the second one, and there's going to be a public square site there, much like the lights in West Fargo, same company. They were coming forward wanting some amendments to a development agreement. Is more of timing of money. So let's first talk about what they were asking for, and then we get into that public square portion of it, and you have some questions. So first off, what was the Epic company looking for?
So basically, the way that the contract was written, and we ratified this agreement a long time
ago, a couple years. Yep.
And there's different milestones that Epic has to hit as the developer to unlock funding. And that final piece is, I think, a $1.3 million piece that once they finish the 3rd building, they're saying that gives them access to some cash to recoup their costs. And all they're asking is for that to be accelerated.
Right.
And
just
sooner. Exactly. Yep. And saying, with cost escalations, they're having to come out of pocket more, which is absolutely a fact, and I don't,
I think the term was money isn't free.
Yep, exactly. Yep. And I don't diminish that need. And I actually don't have issue much with the little bit sooner access to the money that eventually would have been there. But that's something that we weren't really planning for, but I think it's something that we could accommodate.
Okay, so they were asking for timing of money. You then brought up some questions. So this money that like you said, the 1.3 from the city is intended to go towards that public square portion.
Yep.
The development of that, which they're hoping. I'm saying hoping they have designs for ice in the winter, a stage, a sound system, lights, for concerts and all that stuff. You then brought up how you're going to build it. Can you talk a little bit about your question?
Yep.
Did you get it answered, or is it still up in the air?
I kind of did.
Okay.
Mr. Gosted and his legal team again had some good information in that agreement that we signed a while back. My concern is that it's a $8 million city asset that we're purchasing. We're purchasing it through the use of TIF funds and things like that. So everybody wins. We're getting this great development. We're getting this great city amenity. But should us as a city council or the city say, hey, we're going to go out and do this, you'd have to publicly bid that.
Sure.
And the reason we do that is because we want fair pricing, we want competitive pricing, we don't want any backdoor deals. We want it to be something that's done in the public. And my question, line of question really was, okay, are we paying $8.2 million? Do we know what we're getting? And the easy analogy is, you're familiar with the Zamboni. And a Zamboni can cost, there can be hundreds of thousands of dollars of differences, but they're both effectively Zambonis. So can we see what we're getting, and how are those costs being determined? I think at the end of the conversation, Mr. Gosted said that some of that is written into the contract, but I don't know, when questioned, to the Epic and Beacon group about can we do that, they pushed back and said, well, there's advantages to negotiating and having the same contractor.
They have partners.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there's not to say that those same advantages won't be received in the form of a bid. If somebody's working, all of their people are already on place, you'd think they could bid that project a little bit less than a company that has to mobilize. So it should be perceived savings no matter what. And all I'm saying is that this is public funds. These are public dollars. Let's take a minute and make sure that we're getting, what we're supposed to be getting.
Is it a matter of a bid, or do you feel as a city council just seeing what you're purchasing before you get it? Where in there are you?
Yeah, I would say, and I think that's what Mr. Gosted had stated, that I think we'll get a list of what we're getting. But again, it's how did those costs come about? And if it was negotiated beforehand, there's absolutely opportunity for value that maybe when you're publicly bidding, you might end up paying a little bit more on this thing or that thing. But what's the cost? Every business is out there to make money.
Right.
And we don't expect them to do it for free. So if there's a negotiation happening, that's generally a give and a take. So if you're giving here, where are you taking? And that's all I want. I want transparency in the give and the take.
Sure. Okay, I get that. All right, now the elephant in the room, right? Let's talk bridges.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of verifying, ratifying, whatever the term is, the 2050 street and highway plan, part of a development agreement. Once the plan is in place, there's potential access to federal funds. There's a reason for this process. We do this every 5 years. By we, I mean the city or the community. We work with the Grand Forks, East Grand Forks Metropolitan Planning Organization, which we're members of. bridge is obviously a hot topic on these because they're forward-thinking documents. I
Yep.
mean, there are things in this document from how many years ago that aren't done, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
And so the talk of an intercity bridge, obviously there's been conversations for a long time. Had Mr. Sandy on this podcast earlier this week, and he's like, absolutely not. He's the one who made the motion, take an intercity bridge out of the plan. I can't remember how the vote was on that. You're in Ward 5. You're south down there a little bit. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the street and highway plan as it is? What do you expect to hear on Monday?
Yeah. I would say, I support more connectivity between our cities, but at what cost? And that's the problem that I have right now. So if you look at the plan as it sits, I supported, Mr. Sandy's amendment to the plan to remove it. And simply because in the next 5 years, in my opinion, it's not in the cards. We don't have all the answers, and I want priorities on the things we do have the answers for. The underpass at Demers, the interchange at 47th, a Merrifield Bridge. Those are all things that I don't think anyone's arguing. And,
Right.
And those are things that fill up our bucket for the next 5 years.
No, at least.
Right?
Yeah.
So why are we muddying the water over something that I think is a very politically driven topic with something that, so we have some folks that are saying, well, if we don't ratify the MPO's plans, we lose access to federal funds. So to me, that's some people saying, well, we're going to hold hostage all your federal funds unless you agree to a bridge that in an arbitrary place that we don't have the funds for, we don't have an ability to even get it done. I say let's focus on Merrifield and let's show that we know how to get a bridge done. It's much like our development agreement with the prior, it didn't go through, but you know what we did? It did show that this is a process to go through that can be successful in vetting what's needed for our town. So now we're doing the epitome energy. Let's do the same thing with the Merrifield Bridge. Nobody's arguing the Merrifield Bridge. Let's understand the process. Let's understand how we get it paid for. Because again, there's no way to pay for this.
There's no line item in the city budget for a bridge yet.
It's a huge dollar amount. So until we have a good, let's figure this out, ABC step, which we do have a consultant that's helping us through that, but it's just a bridge in general, not an intercity bridge, then we can try to tackle that. Do I need, I fundamentally agree that we need more connectivity, but I don't think it's an equitable solution now. And certainly 32nd for me is a hard no. I don't know how that's equitable for me.
Sure.
And the people that I talk to. But is there something else out there that we haven't even explored? Absolutely. But again, there's no money for it. So why are we making this an issue?
And then there's the whole aspect of Grand Forks City Council is just kind of one arm on this thing. There's East Grand Forks City Council. There's planning and zoning on both sides of the river. And then the ultimate decision comes to the MPO Executive Board. Just the navigation of all of that, like you said, it's become a political issue.
Yep.
On both sides, pro bridge, not pro bridge. Pick the location. Just as a politician, how do you navigate all that?
Well, it's great. It's the non-answer answer is my favorite way to go.
Yeah.
Personally, so I would say fundamentally, do we need another bridge with East Grand Forks? Yes. Do we have a solution for that has been presented? No. So for me, if there was a way that we could drop into the middle of East Grand Forks and then somehow go up into the sky and drop onto 47th on Grand Forks, like that's my solution.
That's a magical bridge.
I know. It's probably a $200 million bridge, right? So that solution doesn't fly. So until we have a solution that flies, I can't be supportive. But do I think there needs to be more connectivity? Absolutely. But at what cost? And not just who's paying for it, but at what cost socially, at what cost, to the traffic, at what cost to all those different things that are going to be impacted, properties, everything.
I think it's fair to say, let's just say it's Merrifield, and a bridge gets built there. That changes development, growth, both sides of the river. The city's growth, yes, is going to the south, right? But that will change that a little bit. It positive, negative, whatever. Yep. It changes it
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and it pulls traffic out of the center of town.
Yep.
I still can't get over the traffic that we have that goes through downtown. And it just bothers me that we have this truck traffic. And I just wish, and it's not their fault. They have lack of options.
Right.
I don't blame the truck drivers for the
they're
streets.
going to market.
Yeah, exactly. It's the people that lay things out and design things. And so that's our responsibility. And that's another reason to not have an intercity bridge anywhere in the talk right now because we got to get the Merrifield done. Let's just get it done.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the discussion on the interchange at 47th or just another interchange is decades old, and it's going to happen. We're going to see it.
Yeah, we are.
And that's huge.
That's a game changer.
Exactly. So let's focus on the bridge.
Right. All right. So we covered all the meat and potatoes, right? We've got it all covered. It's more meat and potatoes, but I want to say, your people don't see. He just made a face because I told him what we're going to do. Because we are going back to middle school civics class. My son just had a test on the Constitution, and the test was on all the amendments of the Constitution. So we had many family dinners where he's going through and asking us questions, and frankly, me asking him questions of which one is that again? Yeah, we've got a right to women's voting. What number that is, or the verbiage behind it? That's a hard one, right? But I was going through what today is. Today in 1791, the Bill of Rights was ratified. It was passed at a federal level earlier, but the states had to ratify it. And on this date in 1791, Virginia was the last state to ratify the Bill of Rights, which put the Bill of Rights into place. So, do you know the Bill of Rights?
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing. Don't feel bad. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
So you want me to just go through as best I can, or what are we talking here?
We'll go through them together. All right. Amendment 1, you hear it all the time.
Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. It's technically freedom to freedom of religion. Freedom of speech is part of it. Freedom of press. Right to assemble. That's all in the First Amendment. Everyone says freedom of speech, right? And I understand freedom of speech is not loudest person in the room.
Yes. Yeah. Or it doesn't allow you to make threats, right?
You can't make threats. And my freedom of speech does not go over your freedom of speech.
Equal freedom of speech.
Equal freedom of speech. Okay.
Love it.
Amendment 2. Of course, we all hear this one too.
Bear arms.
Right to bear arms. Yep. It's actually in order to have a well-regulated militia.
Huh. Interesting.
Residents have the right to bear arms. I think there's words are important, right?
Words are important.
And you think about the time when they wrote this stuff. And don't get me wrong. Love hunters. I'm not one of those take all guns away or whatever. I'm just people come in and say, Second Amendment. Okay, let's read the Second Amendment.
Sure.
Third Amendment.
You lost me.
You're right, exactly. This is where I got lost too.
Okay.
Third Amendment. No soldier in a time of peace shall be quartered in a house without the owner's approval. Evidently, this was a thing. Revolutionary War.
Sure.
British soldiers came in and just like, this is now property of the monarchy.
Sure.
You know, this is now our barracks. Can't do that.
Wow.
So that's the Third Amendment.
Wow.
That's the Third Amendment.
Oh, fourth is self-incriminate, right?
Fourth is search and seizure.
Search and seizure. Fifth is
yeah. Need a warrant. People just can't come into your house and take your stuff without a warrant. Now, they have probable cause. They can't, right?
I think this is really telling because it's really interesting. Search warrants, I can get around that. The quartering of the homes, it's interesting that comes before it. Right. It tells you really the times
the times when it was written. Exactly.
Interesting.
Fifth Amendment, like you said, is self-incrimination. Is actually also in the Fifth Amendment is you can't be put on trial for the same crime twice.
Oh,
so
we wouldn't have that great movie Double Jeopardy.
There you go. Very great movie. So that's actually in the Fifth Amendment as well.
Oh wow.
So if I go to trial because they said I kicked my dog and I win at a trial and then they come back, well, we have more evidence, I can't go back to trial. They have to charge me with something else. Right?
I didn't know that was there.
That's in the Fifth Amendment as well. Sixth Amendment.
I got nothing.
This is you have the right to a speedy and public trial.
Oh, okay.
Of your peers. You have that right.
Love it.
Right? That's the Sixth Amendment. Seventh Amendment, I find the dollar amount interesting.
Okay.
Anything over $20 in a civil dispute, you have the right to go to trial.
Wow.
$20.
Wow. So I wonder if we took inflation back and went
what that number is now.
Yeah, what is that? Is that 5,000?
Yeah, who knows? But it says here in suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20.
Wow.
You have the right
to
go to
it. Wow.
Yep. To go to a jury.
Interesting.
I mean, there's costs to doing all that.
For sure.
But that's the Seventh Amendment.
Seventh Amendment. Wow.
I think Eighth Amendment is an interesting one. Again, what was going on at the time? They can't charge excessive bail or fines.
Huh.
So were there judges around?
Sure.
I don't like you. $1 million to get out of jail.
Sure.
All right. So that's the Eighth Amendment.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. The Ninth Amendment is also an interesting one. Again, I didn't know it. I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew the top two and the fifth one because you hear it in movies.
Yeah.
Right? The Ninth Amendment, Constitution can't be used to disparage other people. Like you can't.
Oh.
Like my right to bear arms doesn't mean I take your gun.
Sure. Sure.
Right? Or
Interesting.
that's the whole thing of my right of free speech is not
Does not
more important than your right of free
infringe
speech.
on your rights.
Yep. And then, of course, the 10th Amendment. It's I knew this one just because this was President candidate Burgum's big thing.
Okay.
Power to the states.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
You know, if there's not a federal law and a state wants to make a law on it, they have every right. That is the Bill of Rights.
Love it.
Education class, I will be the first to admit there was topics at the dinner table. My son James, 8th grade, Schrader Middle School. I believe it was history. So Mr. Duran, good job.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Great job.
And my son had a pocket constitution. He's like, this is our study guide.
Wow.
And so those that say they're not teaching civics in school, I'm not seeing it.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, well done to him. And I feel like I got a little bit of a lesson too. This is great.
Well, and it's one of those things, right? You know, I heard they say that in movies. Plead the fifth.
Yep.
So I know that one. I know it's in there somewhere.
Yep. Yep.
You know, and they actually went through not just Bill of Rights with my son's class. They went through all of the amendments.
Oh, wow.
So it's prohibition and then repealing of prohibition. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
and all that fun stuff. So, no. Kyle, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Merry
Appreciate it.
Christmas.
To you too as well and your family. And
Yeah, I know you've got a young, so your house has got to be buzzing.
yeah, we're having a good time. Yeah. The Advent calendar rules the roost at our house.
Mhm. And then we were talking, we both have birthdays of children around the Christmas. So
Yes.
we feel adding layers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The birthday cake along with your Christmas dinner. It's the best way to go.
That's the best way to go.
Yeah.
But you need the pie for the dessert for the Christmas dinner.
For sure.
And
I
then
mean, we
pie,
don't
right?
be crazy.
Exactly. Kyle, thank you very much.
Appreciate
Merry
it.
Christmas to
Yep,
you.
Merry Christmas, yep.
Merry Christmas to everyone watching here. Thank you for watching us 2023. We're going to come back in 2024. You want to watch any of the previous episodes of the City Chatter podcast, you can go to grandforksgov.com/podcast. Merry Christmas, everybody, and see you.